The storm rolled over the city like an angry beast, the kind that made every window rattle and every person long for the warmth of home. Ethan Parker pulled his jacket tighter around himself as he left the diner where he worked evenings. The neon lights above the door flickered in the rain, casting faint red and blue shadows on the slick pavement. He was exhausted, as usual, but that exhaustion was softened by the thought of Lily waiting at home. She was 7 years old, with curly brown hair and an imagination so wild it could fill their small apartment with castles, dragons, and endless adventures. Ethan lived for those stories she made up. Even when the world pushed him down, she lifted him back up. But tonight, as he walked briskly through the storm, something pulled his attention away from the comforting thought of home. There, on the steps of a glass-fronted office building, was a woman slumped against the stone railing. At first, he thought she was simply sheltering from the rain, maybe scrolling on her phone. But as lightning lit up the street, Ethan saw her head droop dangerously to the side, her hair plastered against her pale face, and her legs sprawled awkwardly. "Miss." Ethan slowed down, his instincts telling him not to just walk past. He'd seen too many people ignored in this city. He jogged closer and crouched down beside her. The woman was shivering violently, her expensive silk dress soaked through. Her designer heels lay tossed aside, one on the step above, the other halfway in the gutter. Her hands trembled as she tried to push herself up but collapsed against the railing instead. "Hey, are you okay?" Ethan asked gently. His voice was steady, calm, the way he spoke to Lily whenever she woke up from a nightmare. Her eyes fluttered open, glazed and unfocused. They were a striking green, even blurred by the haze of alcohol. She squinted at him as if trying to place his face in her foggy memory. "Go away," she mumbled, her words slurring. She tried to push him back weakly, but the effort was pathetic against the strength of gravity pulling her down. Ethan shook his head. "I can't leave you like this. It's freezing, and the streets aren't safe. Don't need help," she whispered, but even as she said it, her body betrayed her, sagging against his arm when he reached out to steady her. Ethan sighed. He could already picture Lily scolding him in her sweet little voice. "Daddy, you can't just leave people when they need you. Come on," he said softly. "Let's get you out of the rain." The woman tried to stand but stumbled immediately, nearly cracking her knees against the stone steps. Ethan caught her, his strong arms steadying her as if she weighed nothing. She was trembling from the cold, her hair dripping rain down her cheeks like tears. "I'll call you a cab," Ethan said, guiding her under his umbrella. "Just let me get you somewhere safe." The woman shook her head violently. "No police. No reporters." Her words startled him. Reporters. That wasn't what a normal drunk person said. But he didn't push. Instead, he walked with her slowly to the only nearby place that was still open, a little coffee shop glowing warmly against the storm. The barista gave them a suspicious glance as they walked in, Ethan half supporting the woman, but said nothing. Ethan led her to a corner booth and helped her sit. She clutched the edge of the table like it was the only thing keeping her upright. He ordered hot tea and chicken soup, paying from the few tips he'd made that night, and slid the steaming mug in front of her. "Drink slowly," he urged. Her fingers wrapped around the cup, clumsy but grateful. She lifted it to her lips and sipped, wincing as if the warmth was almost painful after the biting cold outside. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she asked, "Why are you helping me?" Ethan leaned back, watching her carefully. "Because someone should." She blinked at him, her foggy mind trying to process the simplicity of his answer. For a moment, something flickered in her gaze, an ache, a memory, maybe even gratitude, but it was gone as quickly as it appeared. "You don't even know me," she murmured. "That doesn't matter," Ethan said. "You're a person. That's enough." Her lips trembled. She wanted to say something, but the weight of exhaustion pulled her eyelids closed again. Her head slumped forward, and Ethan caught the cup before it spilled. He sat there for a while, making sure she was breathing evenly, that the color was returning to her cheeks. She looked peaceful now, like a child sleeping after a long cry. Whoever she was, life had clearly knocked her down hard. When it was clear she was in no state to finish the soup, Ethan stood and hailed a cab outside. Carefully, he guided her into the back seat, tucking her heels and handbag beside her. He slipped some cash into the driver's hand. "Make sure she gets home safe," Ethan instructed. The driver nodded. Ethan hesitated for a moment, then pulled a napkin from his pocket and scribbled his name, Ethan. He tucked it into her palm before closing the cab door. The rain was still pouring as he watched the cab's taillights disappear into the night. He didn't know her name, and she didn't know his. And he figured it would stay that way. But as he walked home through the storm, he couldn't shake the strange feeling that their paths weren't finished crossing. Not yet. 3 weeks had passed since that stormy night. To Ethan, it felt like a strange dream, helping a stranger in the rain, leaving her in a cab, and returning home to the simple rhythm of his life with Lily. He hadn't told anyone besides his daughter. To him, it was just another act of kindness, one of many he'd done without expecting anything in return. But the city hadn't forgotten. Billboards began to appear across downtown with bold letters. "To the man named Ethan who helped me that night, please come forward. You saved me when I couldn't save myself. I owe you more than I can express." News stations reported the story endlessly. Clara Hensley, CEO of Hensley Enterprises, had made a public plea for her rescuer. She hadn't described his appearance, just his name, Ethan, but that was enough to stir curiosity. Who was this mystery man? Why hadn't he come forward? Ethan saw the news first while folding laundry, Lily sitting cross-legged on the floor with crayons scattered around her. On the TV, Clara's image appeared, confident, composed, with the same green eyes he remembered seeing through a haze of rain and tears. He froze. "Daddy," Lily said, pointing at the screen, "that's her. The lady you helped." Ethan swallowed hard. "Yeah, that's her. She's looking for you," Lily continued, her voice bright. "You should go." But Ethan shook his head. "Sweetheart, people like her, they live in a different world. She's a CEO. I'm just..." He gestured around their tiny apartment, with its peeling wallpaper and secondhand furniture. "Me." Lily frowned. "But you told me once that we don't help people to get something back. We help because it's the right thing. Maybe she just wants to say thank you. Why can't you let her?" Her words hit him harder than he expected. She was right. He had always taught her that kindness should never be hidden. But was he ready to step into a spotlight he never asked for? For days, he avoided the thought. But every time Lily looked at him with those hopeful eyes, he felt his resolve weaken. Finally, one afternoon, Ethan found himself standing in the marble lobby of Hensley Enterprises. He wore his cleanest shirt, though it was still worn at the cuffs, and held Lily's hand tightly. He almost turned back twice, but Lily tugged him forward with determination. The receptionist glanced skeptically at him when he said, "My name's Ethan. Someone's been looking for me." Before she could respond, the glass doors to the executive offices swung open. Clara herself appeared, her heels clicking sharply against the marble. For a second, Ethan saw only the powerful CEO from the television. But then her eyes landed on him, and her entire expression softened. "You," she whispered, as though the word itself carried relief. "I thought I'd never find you." Ethan shifted awkwardly. "Didn't think you'd try this hard." Her lips curved into a smile that felt more real than the polished ones she gave reporters. "I had to. You didn't just help me, you saved me." She led them to her office, a sweeping space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Yet for all its grandeur, Ethan noticed Clara fidgeting, almost nervous. She poured water for Lily, who climbed into a chair as if she belonged there, before sitting across from Ethan. That night, Clara began slowly, "I wasn't just drunk. I was at my breaking point. I'd spent months fighting off pressure from shareholders, pretending everything was fine. My personal life was falling apart, and I didn't want to keep going." Her voice faltered. Ethan said nothing, letting her find her strength. "When you stopped, when you sat with me instead of just calling security, it changed everything. You reminded me that not everyone sees me as a CEO or a paycheck. You saw me as a person." She looked at him directly, her green eyes steady now. "You pulled me back from a very dark place." Ethan shifted uncomfortably. "Anyone would have done the same." "No," Clara said firmly. "They wouldn't have." Before Ethan could respond, Lily piped up from her chair. "My daddy says heroes don't wear capes. But he's one anyway." Clara's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. She reached across the table and gently squeezed Lily's hand. "You're right, he is." Over the next weeks, Clara kept in touch. At first, it was small things. Sending tickets for Lily to visit the aquarium, dropping by the diner where Ethan worked for coffee she didn't need, asking questions about his life. She seemed hungry for ordinary moments, things far removed from boardrooms and stock prices. Ethan resisted at first. He worried about the gulf between them, her wealth, his struggles, the constant media attention around her name. "You're from a world I don't belong to," he told her one evening when she stopped by the diner. Clara didn't hesitate. That night, none of that mattered. And it still doesn't. Slowly, their conversations deepened. Clara learned about Ethan's late wife, the quiet strength it took to raise Lily alone, the long shifts at the diner. Ethan learned about Clara's lonely climb to the top, how success had cost her friendships and peace of mind. One Saturday, Clara invited them to a company charity event. Ethan almost said no, but Lily begged to go. As he watched his daughter twirl in her little dress, laughing as Clara guided her through a dance, something inside him shifted. Clara wasn't just a CEO, she was a woman who had been searching for something real, and somehow, she had found it in them. Later that night, as Ethan walked Lily home, Clara caught up to him outside. "You still think I live in a world you don't belong to?" she asked softly. Ethan hesitated. "I don't know. My world is small, Clara. It's homework and late shifts and keeping the lights on." She stepped closer. "And yet, in that small world, you've built something I've spent years searching for: kindness, honesty, love. That's the world I want to belong to." For the first time, Ethan didn't have an answer. But as Clara smiled at Lily skipping ahead on the sidewalk, he realized maybe he didn't need one. That rainy night had started with a simple act of kindness. But it had become something neither of them had expected, something that felt a lot like the beginning of forever.